Good morning, afternoon, evening, guys. You're locked into Conscious Minds TV, and I'm your host, DVG. And today I have a very, very special guest. I'm honored to have my brother, Santos Bonacci. Thank you for joining me, brother. It means a lot. Been following your work for a good 5 years now, and I've learned so much from watching your work. And it's like you've given everyone the keys to make the connections. And there's so much stuff I've found out from using the method of syncretism. It's like I want to present some stuff to you, and also I want to get your opinions on a few things that have been happening at the moment. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the show. Before we get into the main topic, can you just let people know where they can find your stuff on social media, like your Facebook or YouTube or website or Instagram?
So Universal Truth School is my website, universaltruthschool.com. That will lead you to my YouTube channel, which is Mr. Astrotheology. One word, Mr. Astrotheology.
Yep.
That would be the best two places to start. That's all my content and most of my material that I've published.
Cool. I just want to let you know how I got into studying syncretism myself and how I came across your work. It was a really interesting, it was like a pure fluke, but it was one of the, like, how can I say, it was such a defining moment for me, like learning knowledge and trying to evolve myself. I was watching around like 2012, 2013. I started how can I say, a little mini awakening. Like I started experimenting in using cannabis. I was looking into some deep stuff. Obviously, I watched the usual stuff like Zeitgeist and Kai Matakar, and I was getting into like work like Graham Hancock, and he was talking about like how the pyramids are aligned with Orion's belt, and he mentioned something about precession of the equinoxes. And at the time, I didn't know what that was. So I typed in precession of the equinoxes, and your video, Know Thyself, #2, came up on YouTube, like on the top list. And then I watched that video, and then literally, it was like, the way I could explain it was, it's like before, like, it's like the door was open a bit, and I could see kind of what was going on. But then when I watched your astrotheology presentation, it's like literally, it's like you kicked down the door for me. And it was just, ever since that day, like I've learned so many things and been looking at your work and making syncretisms. And because like I kind of know 3 languages myself, it's really helped me with the etymology stuff. So like that was just like letting the viewers know of how I came across your work, and I'm really grateful for that, brother.
Yep, for sure.
So, when did you yourself first start getting into like astrotheology and like realizing that the characters within all the religions are not like literal and they're like more allegorical? What part of your life did that happen in?
In 2 stages. The first stage was when I was in my very, very early 20s, probably 19, 20, 21, when I first came back to the Jehovah's Witnesses after a stint away from them. For all my teenage years, I just rebelled.
Yeah.
And then I went back to the Witnesses, and I started studying a lot of books that were based on philology, anthropology.
Yeah.
You could say cosmology, mythology, but in a way that Christians would take it. It's for their kind of literature that is kind of dumbed down for Christians. So, but books like, for instance, The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop.
Yep.
I cut my teeth on that book. When it comes to astrotheology, there's more astrotheology in that book than any other book, and yet it's disguised as a Christian minister at the turn of the century, 100 years ago,
Yeah.
1916, Alexander Hislop, Bishop of the Church of England, very respected man. He wrote this treatise, this book, showing that all the religions have the same theme. But you see how they get away with denying that the world was once a whole syncretic system and everyone had the same system. How they confuse and befuddle themselves and others is they explain away this phenomena by what's called the diabolical mimicry theory hypothesis. And that is that as soon as God created Adam and Eve and the world started off in its procreating cycle of blessing and filling the earth, along comes the devil, and he got wind of all of the prophecies of God that a seed would come and the Messiah to save and redeem mankind from their fallen state. And so what Alexander Hislop did was he proved that once all the world was syncretic, but explained it by saying that, or explaining that the devil set about being very clever and tricking people by making many, many religions, confusing people with these many, many religions that are similar to the Christian model, but they are diabolically mimicking it in order to deceive people. So when Horus and Krishna and Quetzalcoatl and all of the gods, all of them, do exactly the same as Jesus does, has a virgin mother, 12 disciples, heals people, raises the dead, born on 25th of December, gets betrayed, everything, every single facet, detail, attribute, every little nuance of every single mythology, including the Christian Gospels, are all exactly one and the same.
Yep.
And the only way of making theirs a better one is by saying that the devil made all of those, and now the church that you belong to, this Jehovah's Witness or this Mormon or Pentecostal church, which is one of 30,000 registered 501c3 corporate churches, is the true one by which only will you be saved.
Yeah. So it's like, what they're doing is kind of, it's like a divide and conquer. So they're looking at it as like individual trees rather than the whole forest. So they're all connected, but people are looking at it as like they're just separating the whole. It's the opposite of syncretism, basically.
Yeah, so that was the first stage of me being a syncretist. That was learning about syncretism and all the gods being similar, and how Abram is Brahma and how Sarah is Saraswati, and all of those connections. Yep. Esther and Marduk in the Jewish become Astarte, and Esther and Mordecai become Astarte and Marduk in the Babylonian system, where Esther and Mordecai, the Jews, came from. So all of these connections that Alexander Hislop made for me led me to 2007.
Yeah.
So I'd already done from 1982, that's 25 years, to 2007.
Wow.
No, 30 years. 82. No, it's about a quarter of a century. So I had the syncretism here and the nuts and bolts, but just like a jeweler who has all the nuts and bolts for his watch, he's got 100 arrayed on his jewelry bench. in his workshop. If you don't remember how to put those pieces together, you will always have little pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, but no picture.
Yep.
Just all the keys in your hand without knowing how to interpret the keys. So that's what I did. I went gathering information, studying, researching for many years.
Yep.
And then 2007 came along when I became vegetarian. And then all of a sudden, I leaped into another level.
Definitely. Because I found that myself, brother. Literally, I've been vegan for 4 years now. And since that time, like, the syncretisms I get, like, sometimes, like, I have a smoke and I'm just laying down and I shut my eyes. And it's just like, it all comes within rather than looking outside. And you've mentioned that many times in your show, that shows that everything is within us anyway, but we're too busy looking outside of ourselves. And this is the reason why we don't find these type of truths.
For sure.
And like, it's like, it's amazing. Like, for example, brother, like, one thing I love about your work with me, like, I love etymology and languages because I write music. I'm a rapper as well, like your son. And I love languages, and I've grown up speaking 3 languages because my mum and dad are from Cyprus. We're Turkish Cypriot, but their Greek is actually probably better than their Turkish, because once upon a time in Cyprus, it all used to be mixed. But in the 60s and 70s, it got divided and stuff. So now there's a north side. But through that, I've like grown up like knowing 3 languages, and that's one thing like I noticed about your work. You mention a lot of Greek stuff, and you always like relate to Greek words and stuff, and it made me make so many syncretisms. And like I've got a board here, and I've like written loads of stuff down. I don't know if you can see it, but like,
yep, clearly.
So the first one I'm going to go through is the day of Thursday is in German is called Donnerstag, right? But in Turkish, you know, you have a kebab which is called a doner, which turns, right? Well,
Kebab.
Huh?
Yeah, doner kebab.
Yeah, but doner means turning, right? Well, Donnerstag is Thursday, which is Thursday, which is a Taurus field.
Yeah.
So, do you get what I mean? So, like, because I've watched your work and I know other languages, brother, I just, there's so many I come up with. I'll go, like, I'll select 5 and then we can carry on talking and I'll pick some more. Like, for example, like Hathor, the bull god. Well, Hathor is the bull god, which obviously relates to Taurus and which relates to Eve and which relates to Venus. Well, in Turkish, Eve is Hava. And obviously, if you cut the H off, you've got Ava, and then you've got Ave, and then you've got Venus. It makes Venus. So, like, this is why I love watching your work, because I know different languages. I can make so many different connections, and it's amazing. Like, for example, you always talk about how Seth or Sept comes from Joseph, which is Saturn. And in Greek, and obviously we know, like, through mythology and that Saturn is known as almost like a deceiver and a liar, because he makes like boundaries where we have this like Maya world illusion. Well, in Greek, if you call someone a liar, you would say enseftis. So it's like a deception. And also, if something's fake, you say ensepticon.
Right.
So that relates to the like Joseph and Saturn connection.
Oh, wow. So say it again, the first one and then the second one.
So if I said to you, Santos, you're talking lies, I'll say Santos sindihani sefges.
Sefges.
Yeah.
Right.
If something's fake, I would say, like, for example, this book, I would say Dudon Ensepticon. So when you like know different languages, you can make the connections like so well. And like, there's so many, brother. Like, for example, like you know, like Nut and Geb, the sky goddess and the earth.
Mhm.
Well, obviously, I watch a lot of your stuff in relation to like languages and how words are interchangeable and stuff. Well, if you have Geb, well, G is interchangeable with K and a C, and an E is interchangeable with an A and an A. So you could make that cub or a cube. So Geb, which is the Earth, which would be the cube, which is what it is in geometry. So these are the kind of syncretisms that I've been making from watching your work.
Yeah, nice. Wow, that is a good list, brother.
Yeah,
Donna's.
we'll go
So,
some more, but I just wanted to give you a little idea of what kind of stuff I've been coming across. Oh, there's so many, but before we get back to that, obviously at the moment we've got like this current pandemic of the coronavirus, which obviously we know corona means crown, which relates to the crown chakra and Saturn. Um, what? How do you see what's playing out at the moment from your opinion? Because I've heard so many different like, oh, it's a financial battle between the Chinese and the American. I've heard it's a way of them incorporating like martial law and a more of an Orwellian state. There's so many different theories floating around. What's your take on it?
well, it's multiple headed. It's like a hydra. It's not just one of those things. It's all
Yeah,
of those things. And it's all about a large last ditch effort of Gog and Magog, the war, where one group will try to wrest power away from the other group. So there's really just two vying power-hungry groups here.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. And the real nasty, evil ones, what they call the deep state, I believe this is obviously their last, they think they can do it. They really think they can pull this off. Very shaky times for them. They are absolutely not, they thought they were all knowing and they were all powerful, but they realized they weren't, especially when it comes to human awakening, people working out what they're up to. So once people start to not comply with all of the silly overexertions in trying to lock down parts of the economy and society, once people realize that, nah, there's nothing to worry about, there's more worrying about being hit by a bus than getting coronavirus, really. And so because viruses are not transmittable between people, this is the big lie. They try to tell you that, you have to protect yourself and don't touch other people and blah, 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 trying to isolate people. Viruses come from within the body. They are actually cells who are cleaning themselves. They have a solvent where they clean themselves out and get rid of rubbish. And sometimes they have to do that because there's the lymphatic system and the immune system is so down that they have to do it. And so people get susceptible to that energy, which is a frequency. Possibly the frequency of 5G can cause those symptoms, but it's not a virus. It's a frequency that makes people go into the virus modality where their body has to cleanse itself. I think they're just stimulating the cells so that the cells start protecting themselves against this further poison of frequencies, and then virus symptoms then manifest in the individual. But it's not a virus that was spread by someone. It's a virus that's either spread by vaccines or the frequencies.
Yeah. It's Dave Murphy posted a video yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was saying about how obviously all you have to do is like keep your body alkaline and we'll be fine. And
Mhm.
like, and the reason why I say this is because um, like he was saying all that in the video, and the video's actually been deleted now off YouTube. So he was obviously saying something in there that they didn't want us to know. So they've got rid of the video, and like it's literally, it was up for 1 day and they got rid of it. But what would you say on the choice of the word corona and why they've picked corona?
Well, because it has to do with the coroner. The coroner is Kronos.
Yep.
He's always the one that knocks on your door, the Grim Reaper, before you have to leave the time-space continuum. And he, Mr. Kronos, old man time, he pulls you out of the time-space continuum because he says, your time's up, dude. And then he takes you to the coroner. And it has to do with time and time up. In other words, this is the virus of all viruses. In other words, it has the power of time component in it, in that it's, I guess you could say it's limited, or it's indefinite, or it's final. Eschatology, end time virus, you know, as in the prophecies, it says many pestilences will be throughout the earth in that time, and much uprisings and nation against nation and earthquakes and rumors of war and wars. Well, one of those things was pestilences. So what happens in this archonic God grid that has been created to imprison this planet is that the archonic gods think something up, and then this is transmitted through the higher levels of government and control in this world from top down, and then finally gets to the people where they are mind controlled as well, according to the mind of the archon.
Yeah.
And so as long as we have this scary archon around and we haven't dealt with it, it will always be initiating earthquakes, floods, pestilences, wars, uprisings, etc., because that's its job. That's the archetype. It's there. You know, once we know that it's gone, then those things won't happen to us. So it's all about us regaining the control. We have the power.
Yeah. I was thinking about the word virus, brother. And to me, when I broke it down, it does make sense, because it's like, well, kind of VI is like vision, and Rus is red, so it's like red vision. Is literally like, that's how I would cut down what virus means, and it literally is, because a virus is when everyone's in fear and they're at their red chakra. So like, that's it's so crazy. Everything's in the words, brother. It's amazing. Like, once you break down words, it's literally just all there. I was reading about how Saturn is moving into Aquarius tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, only for a short stint though.
Okay, I was going to say, how would you interpret that, and what will that mean for us?
Well, it's like the John the Baptist. Aquarius is John the Baptist, the baptizer in water. It's a water bearer.
Yep.
And so before Saturn enters Aquarius for good, in which it does not retrograde back into Capricorn, that's the 21st of December. It has to give you a little taste. It has to just jump in a bit, get its feet wet, and then come back a bit. The planets are always doing that. You know, as they proceed, they drive you toward that sign, then they pull their energy back, right? Get you prepared for that energy. It's like rowing a boat, you know? And so there will be 9 or 10 months ahead of us where this will be happening, where Saturn will go in and then retrograde back. And there's only the one retrograde between now and the 21st of December. So what's happening is Aquarius is establishing itself in a more extensive way than ever before, because it started establishing itself in 1962.
Yeah, well, that conjunction with the 7 planets in Aquarius, isn't it?
Yeah. All the 7 visible planets were in Aquarius at 6 a.m. on the 5th of February, Aquarius. In 1962, they all rose together in the east, in Aquarius, 5 to 6 a.m., pretty much everywhere around the world. Those 7, which only happens about every 4 million years. And to be exact, 4,320 years, according to Manly P. Hall and the great Vedic wisdom of the ancients, where they said the 7 visible planets can only be in a sign together once every 4,320,000 years.
Wow.
So the fact that that happened, and they were singing about the age of Aquarius coming, and then on the 21st of December 2012, Pisces ended. That was the 50-year cusp from 62 to 2012 of Pisces and Aquarius intermingling of cusp energy. And then on that day, Pisces ended forever, gone, and Aquarius began. But there's always another 7-year
transformation period, kind of.
Yeah, it's I forget the name for it, but there's another 7 years, 8 years of lingering after that, in which Aquarius has to establish itself properly. And how it does that is Jupiter and Saturn have to be conjunct in 0 degrees of that sign.
Yep.
And that happened in Pisces supposedly 2,000 years ago. They both turned up together to usher in the age of Pisces. Now they're turning up again, 7 years after 2012, exactly on the winter solstice, both of them 0 degrees Aquarius. And they will set the tone for the whole Aquarian movement, which is coming. Very mental, very humanitarian,
yep,
very golden age, because the opposite sign of Aquarius is Leo.
Yep.
And it's the sun. So we're going to have solar salvation coming through Leo. Yep. It's going to be a Leo age, the age of Leo. And that's what the Sphinx is. The Sphinx is a man, Aquarius.
Aquarius and Leo, yeah.
And a lion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, like I really see like the energy of Uranus coming through at the moment, like in the world of like people breaking free from boundaries, because obviously like Uranus is in the firmament on top of Saturn, so that's why people are breaking free from the structures and being more open-minded and starting to look into things. And I really see this like even being played out in like mainstream culture. Some of it's good and some of it's bad. Like obviously, personally, like I think the good part of it is like the whole rise in the more plant-based vegan diet, and people starting to awaken, and more people are cutting down on the meat. But like on the other more redshift side, like I feel like the whole like LGBT community and like the transgender community is kind of, it's using that energy but more in a negative way. And I just think that like obviously you're always going to get 2 sides of the coin, but I just think that like with that cause, it's fair enough. I don't have a problem with anyone doing what they've got to do, but like you've mentioned in your show, Santos, sex is more of a sacred thing, so we shouldn't be like making a moan about what our sexual preference is. If that's your sexual preference, just do it in your own time. And it's not something that we should be having marches about and people making a big fuss off. Like, fair enough, people should be accepted for who they are, But that's the part of like the whole age of Aquarius that I don't like. I don't know if you've noticed that yourself.
Yeah, it's very revolutionary. Uranus is the great revolutionizer. Revolutionary.
Yeah.
Unconventional, ahead of its time, original, unique, eccentric.
Yeah. I always hear that Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury. Is there truth in that?
Absolutely, 100%.
Which is interesting, actually, brother, because later when I get into like talking about like Islam and like the archetypes in Islam, I've got like a connection with Aquarius, and I'll just tell you it now, actually, because you see how like the motto of Aquarius is "I know," right?
Mm-hmm.
And like in Islam, like Muhammad the messenger is the one who knows and is kind of seen as because Aquarius is known as the son of man, right?
Yep.
So, and I've heard a lot of Muslims when they like debate Christians and stuff, they say that in the Bible that, you know, when it says walk into where it talks about walking into the room with the picture of a man pouring water and he's a new prophet and stuff. I've heard Muslims kind of use that section as it relating to Muhammad. And
Yep.
me, like I've always related Muhammad to the planet Mercury because he's the messenger. But in Aquarius, that's where Mercury exalts. And in the story of Muhammad, he flies to heaven on a winged horse, which is a white horse. And in Aquarius, you have the deacon of Pegasus. And when you look at each deacon, obviously, because it's in an air sign, each deacon is assigned to the other air signs. And the deacon of Pegasus is coincidentally assigned to Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. So I don't know if there's a connection there, but that's just something I noticed. How would you interpret that?
Yeah, well, see, that's Pegasus is down at the bottom of the ecliptic, where Capricorn is and Aquarius in winter, because the sun has to go on the white horse, on the winged horse, Perseus, on Pegasus, so that it can climb to Cancer, the heaven, Jerusalem on high.
Yeah.
So Jerusalem on low, that's Capricorn.
Yeah.
Tropic of Capricorn. Jerusalem on high, that's Cancer.
That is so interesting because I've got something that's going to connect to that. Sorry, brother, carry on.
No, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You just spoke about like the Capricorn Cancer axis. Well, I kind of find that like this is a question I wanted to kind of like ask you or just kind of build upon. You see how like in the current world we've got like this kind of battle between like Islam and Judaism and like the Palestinians and the Jews and stuff. Well, I always associate like Cancer with like the Arab because of the scarab.
Yep.
And obviously Islam is ruled by the moon.
Yep.
Opposite that is Saturn, which is obviously, we know Judaism is a very Saturnian based religion with the Sabbath and stuff like that. And obviously, directly opposite that is Capricorn. So do you think like the elites are playing out this opposition like in real life by using?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So what they do is they take something literal because literary and make it literal.
Yep.
Or focus on the literal parts mostly. Okay. So, and what they do is they make an institution based on people's ideologies.
Yep.
So, for instance, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're just a corporate Christian religion. All they're doing is they're mimicking Christianity, bringing in the tenets and principles, etc., of Christianity in, and make a corporate structure. And now what they do is they only take the literal part and make it as though the literal has the main importance, where it doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's how you invert people's spirituality.
Yeah.
You give them dogma and doctrines that are opposed to the truth.
Yeah, because I see that a lot when I like look at the zodiac and I see like particular archetypes that, like, for example, like, I don't want to be stereotypical, but I'll just say it anyway. Like, for example, when you look at them, that axis, you've got like Cancer, which is like more about the home and the family and a more tight-knit community, and it's more about emotions and feelings. So, and when I look, because I'm from a Muslim background myself, I feel that kind of Cancerian energy. But then when you look at the opposite of Capricorn, which is in relation to like the Jewish religion, and obviously it's to do with secularism and career and money. They say that all the Jews own everything, and like there's this like stereotype that they're tight, and obviously that corresponds with Saturn being about restriction. So I see a lot of these things when I look at the zodiac, and it's just crazy that how, like you said, they take these things and they literalize them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very sad, because what happens now is people's lives are devoid of their transdimensional nature. They don't connect with their transdimensional subtle self. So they just connect with their gross self, which is the lower mind. So they're in the ego, they are trapped.
Brother, you've paused. You've frozen. Oh no.
Hello?
Yep, yeah, you're back now. You're back now. Yeah, you froze for a minute.
Okay, so what it does is it makes people lose connection with their higher God self, their higher subtle mind, and their transdimensional selves, because they've literalized the scriptures so that the mind now can't expand and be literary and to see what the Holy Spirit leads them to see in those teachings.
Yeah.
So
oh no, it's cut off again. You cut out again, brother. Sorry about this, guys. He's cut off for a second. Hopefully, we'll get Santos back in a minute. But yeah, not sure. Oh, here we go. Oh, you're back.
oh, good.
Yep, you're back now.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't quite get what you said because it froze up, but it doesn't matter. We can move on, or unless you want to repeat it, it's up to you, brother.
No, move on, because it's better for you to be talking now, because my internet's poor here.
Yeah,
and it only lasts for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, no worries. Like yourself, like I've watched like people like yourself and Jordan Maxwell, and you guys both came from like a Jehovah's Witness, like Christian background, and because I've like grown up in more of a Muslim background, in the last like 2-3 years since I've been watching your work, it's like I've found it a bit of a mission to find out how like astrology and astrotheology connects to the religion of Islam. And I find that there is a little bit of work out there that people have done, like people like Bill Donahue. Obviously, I was reading a bit of Mandy P. Hall earlier. He talks about little things, but I've not really seen, like, you know how you did that presentation of like the zodiac wheel, and you done all the like holy celebrations going around the zodiac wheel. I've kind of took it upon myself to like look into Islam and see how it all relates, and I've found some really, really amazing stuff, brother. And one thing I can like say is that it's how, like, for example, Christianity is based on the sun, well, Islam is based on the moon. And it's interesting that in the first chapter of the Quran, the first chapter is called the cow. And obviously the cow would be relating to Taurus, which is where the moon exalts. So I find it very fitting that the first chapter is called the cow. And also I want to read you a chapter, a little passage from the Quran, which personally I think is talking about either the Taurus field or the constellation of Taurus. And I just want to get you to kind of put your input on it, if that's okay, once I finish reading it. So, where is it? It says, oh yeah, it says, they said, call on your Lord for us to show us exactly what it is. All cows are more or less alike to us. With God's will, we shall be guided. He replied, it's a cow not trained to till the earth or water or the fields. It's a perfect, unblemished cow, they said. Now have you brought forth the truth? And so they slaughtered it, though they almost failed to do so. When the Israelites killed someone and started to blame one another, although God was to bring what you had concealed to light, we said, strike the body with the part of the cow. Thus God brings the dead to life and shows his signs so that you may understand. How would you? So if it's a cow that doesn't till the earth, then it's the only other cow for me it could mean it's talking about would be one in the heavens or the Taurus field.
Yeah, for sure. Or the cerebellum,
Yeah.
which is the motor brain. It drives the motor nervous system. So, in other words, when you speak, see, the word of God is Torah. It's the Torah, right? Or the Bible, the Torah and the bull. So the Bible, the Torah, being the Taurus, the bull, is the word of God, because the bull is what makes you speak. Cerebellum, not the cerebrum. The cerebrum gives you the ideas of what to say, but the cerebellum gives you the mechanical, kinetic energy to speak.
Definitely. So interesting. And another thing that I noticed, Santos, is like in Turkish, the word for throat is boğaz, and a ball is called a boğa. So it's literally the same word. For throat and ball in Turkish, they're literally the same word.
Right.
So it's very interesting. And also another thing I want to touch up on as well in relation to the Quran, and something that I've had a lot of arguments with people about, how a lot of Muslim people and a lot of family and members, they always talk about how, like, in the Quran it says it's okay to eat meat. But I want to read you a passage where for some reason they must be missing this part. I don't know why, but I'll read it out to you, and because I just want to read it for people so they can see what I'm saying, so they can so we can kind of get to the bottom of it, if that makes sense. So it writes, we have provided for you, and be grateful to God if it is him that you worship. And it says, he has only forbidden you carrion. For people who don't know what carrion is, it means flesh. It says, he has forbidden you carrion, blood, pig's meat, and animals over which any other name than God has been invoked. But if anyone is forced to eat such things by hunger rather than desire or excess, he commits no sin. God is most merciful and forgiving. So basically, from what I can understand, what it's saying is, unless you totally have to eat it, you shouldn't eat it. Would you agree with that? Oh, brother, you're muted.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's not for you and I. That's for anyone who is unconscious. So for the priest class, There's no law.
Yeah.
That laws are for the non-priest class. These
Yeah.
are people who, you know, it's a different law system. For you and I, it's not even, there's no argument. There's just no murder, period. You don't, make excuses and little clauses,
Yeah.
but if you should die,
Yeah.
then you can kill another animal and eat it. Yet God is merciful in that ultimately, once you repent of these disgusting things and do a lot of work, you will eventually be restored.
Yeah.
But for you and I, it would be the most reprehensible thing to do. It would go back on many billions of years of great light work that we've done. This is a law for the morons. This is a law for the...
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. It's just like,
Okay.
it's just some of the, some of the people that try and argue with you and stuff. It's just, it's ridiculous. But the reason why I kind of bring this up is I want to share a story with you actually about how something really like kind of inspirational and strange happened from watching your work. In August of 2015, I was watching one of your videos and you explained about how in the Bhagavad Gita, it says that if you eat animals, you will be eaten by animals. And literally, brother, I just started getting into your work then, and I wasn't vegan, I was still eating meat. And I went to the park with my dog to take my dog for a walk. And he got into a fight with another dog. And by me trying to split it up, the other dog attacked me and I got bitten on my hand and I got bitten under my armpit and I got hurt basically. And it made me really think because I was listening to what you said and literally that happened in about like August time. And I went through so much pain because of what happened to me. And I think, wow, imagine what these poor animals must go through every day. And it just literally, it was like a blessing in disguise for me. I'm so glad it happened. But it just like, sometimes you need a bit of a kick up the arse to kind of get things moving along. And like ever since that time, like that happened in 2015. And then on the first day of 2016, I turned vegan and I've not gone back since. And it's amazing. I've been the lightest I have ever in my life. I've always had problems with weight. I'm still overweight, but like because of doing like eating a more plant-based diet and like doing some like last year I did a psyllium husk cleanse for my colon, and I literally I've like lost like almost, how many pounds is it? Well, we say stones in England. Like in England, we say like I've lost like nearly 3 stone, but that's like, well, there's 14 pound in each, so nearly 30 pounds. And the only rule I made for myself, brother, was that I limited myself to 1 cooked meal a day, and the rest had to be raw. And by doing that, I've lost like nearly 30 pound, and I'm still eating cooked food. So imagine if I was doing it even more stricter, you would have more, like, there'll be more benefits. And it's just amazing. Like people, like you tell these people, they just think, I don't know, it's weird, man. It's just people are just not, it's like me and my cousin and my brother, we always talk like, you see like this knowledge that we delve into and that we know and that we're in sync with. It's just like, I feel like some people are supposed to get it and some people are not, unfortunately. Because like, I haven't given up like telling people it. I do tell people it, but if I see I'm not getting anywhere with it, then I don't waste my time anymore.
Yeah. Best to keep the treasures to yourself and not throw your pearls to swine, because not only will they disrespect those pearls, but they will cause you to lose respect for them as well. So if you really respect them, you treasure them, you guard them and protect them.
Yep.
And you keep them healthy and continue to make them grow.
Definitely. definitely. I've been watching your shows with Josh and Charlie recently, and they've been really, really interesting. You've been talking about the whole vegan stuff, and yeah, I've been into it a lot as well. I've been using a lot of oregano. I use like oregano tablets. I don't know if if you've looked into using oregano before. It's really good for like your immune system and your bones and stuff like that. And I use like acai berry, and yeah, I've been like, I try a little stuff, and obviously like apple cider vinegar with like ginger and turmeric, and just to try and always keep myself fresh. So like, I'm not like a health freak, but I'm trying, if that makes sense. And it just like, it definitely makes a difference. Like, but people, I just think, unfortunately, I think it's the ego that it holds a person back ultimately. Are you still there?
Yeah, I can hear you. My internet's playing up again. It will for another couple of minutes. So
Yeah, no
why
worries.
don't you why don't you put,
Yeah,
why don't you pull your whiteboard out and show us the other words?
Yeah, no problem. So where was we up to? Right. So yeah, I explained like Hathor and all that, and scarab. Like the scarab is the Arab, and also yeah. Did you mention in a show that in Cancer there is a deacon? Is it called Argo or Argos?
Argos.
Well, yeah. Well, that's where you probably get the word cargo from.
Yeah.
And it's funny because do you know the shop Argos? Do they
Yes.
have that in Australia?
Yes.
Well, if you think of Argos, the way it's set up is almost like a maritime kind of thing where you go and you give your ticket and you've got to wait at the dock to get your goods. And, that kind of connects with like a cargo ship and like and also and in Turkish an araba is a car, and that connects with the word scarab. So there's so many like connections I've made there. Another
Wow.
Huh?
Wow. Araba being a car.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
And also, I did like a comparison of like the days of the week, and one which particularly stood out for me was Tuesday. Well, we know Tuesday is Mars, right? Tuesday. Well, in Turkish, it's called Salı. Well, Sally in English means action, burst, or rush, which is the energies of Mars. And also, in Sanskrit, it's called Mangalaya. Well, a mangal in Turkish is also a fire.
Mars.
Yeah, so it's crazy how they're all different words, but they all mean the same thing.
Yep.
And and also like marching in Turkish is called a marsh. It's a MARS with a little dot on the bottom of it. Marsh. What other stuff we got? Things like obviously like Satan. In Turkish we call it Shaitan, and in Greek it's called Sadana.
Yeah.
I was thinking of, do you know like Barclays Bank? You know the bank, yes. Barclays Bank?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of when you was talking about like Noah's Ark, and it's like the bark on the bank with the water and stuff like that. And what other stuff have I got here? This one. You was talking about, I was watching your show where you was talking about like, you know, the 7 subterranean realms in the Hindu cosmology.
Yes.
Yeah, and the bottom one is called Putala. Right, yep. And then you went on to talking about the Spanish word puto and stuff like that. Well, the bottom one would correspond with the red chakra. Well, in Greek, a prostitute is called a budana. So it's the same word as putala.
Yep.
Almost.
In Italian, it's puttana. Puttana.
Yeah. And again, in Turkish, it's a different word, but it still has a connection. So, for example, it's called orosbu. The ros connects with the red.
Right.
So
there
again,
you go.
Different words, but they all have the same meaning. And just loads of stuff like Gomorrah, for example. Well, in Greek, to gamor is to have sex. It means fuck. So Sodom and Gomorrah.
Wow. That's a beauty.
Yeah, and also you've got hyperbole, which is like the hourglass, or like the black hole. Well, a snail in Greek is called gara ole. Well, gara means black, and ole means, so it's like the black hole. It's talking about the snail is called gara ole, and gara means black, so it's like a black hole almost. So it's like talking about going to counter space.
Well, that's interesting, right? Because in Japanese,
Yeah.
kuro is black.
Kuro.
Yep, you say kara.
Yeah.
But in Japanese, it's kuru. And in Sanskrit, that is guru, the guru.
That's Jupiter, isn't it? Guru.
Means black light.
Yeah, wow.
And then in Aboriginal Australia, they have the Kuri people. The Kuri people mean the black people. Yep. So you've got Aboriginal, Kuri.
Yep.
Turkish, Kara.
Yep.
Japanese, Kuro.
Yep.
Hindu, Guru.
Wow.
It's all the same word.
Yep, definitely. Also here we've got time in Turkish is Saat, S-A-A-T, which is like the first 3 words of Saturn, obviously.
Yes, Saat.
Yeah. And then like you got the word like haram, which means like forbidden or to be pure, which is like to do with Virgin and the Virgo, which I'm going to talk about in my presentation. But the redshift side of that would be harem, which is the servants of like the sultans in the Ottoman Empire, which were like, they're like women, if that makes sense. Other ones I've got is, you was talking about in one show, Santos, about the 18 yards. Is it the 18 yard stick?
18 inch.
Yeah, 18 inch. Oh, not 18. Oh, right. So it might not syncretize. Well, I was thinking about, in football, when you play soccer, you have the 18-yard box. I thought that there might have been a connection there, but maybe it's not. I don't know.
It might be, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the backyard is the yardstick, which is your spinal column.
Yep.
Or spinal cord, which is 18 inches long in a man, 17 inches long in a woman. So 18, when they play in the yard, playing football in the yard, 18 will be one of those numbers.
Yep.
It's not by mistake.
Yep.
And
18... Also, I was going to go on to say, like, you see how football, like soccer, like how the pitch is laid out, and like, for example, if you've like the 2 goals where you have goalkeepers, I see as like the 2 poles of the earth, and the goalkeepers are like the gatekeepers stopping you from kind of going into the pole, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, so like the goalkeeper is the gatekeeper, because the goal is like the same word as gol, which is like, in Greek, your arse is called golon, which is like the same word as colon. And then you get the word colonize. Well, people will colonize, go and kind of do people up the bum, if that makes sense.
That's right.
That's the kind of syncretism I made with that. And obviously, like the referee being dressed in black, being a disciplinarian, is Saturn in the game of soccer. And I don't know, maybe the 11 players on each side? Is the 22 maybe relating to the tarot number? I'm not sure. It's just ideas I've had in my head, but that's why I wanted to talk to you and just get your input on some of these things.
Yeah, so the yardstick is your spinal cord, which is 18 inches, and that's a half of a yard.
Yeah.
So 18 times 18 is 36. That's how many inches are in a yard. So it's all about these universal measurements.
Yeah.
How they transcribe into every field, they transpose into every field, these numbers.
Yeah.
They're always, so 360 is really the root of it. The yard is about 360-degree circle. It's simple, it's about 12 inches is astrological. So the imperial system is a very, very, it's astrological, whereas the metric system based on 10, that's more mundane. It's a more mundane, not so spiritual system. That's why it's more popular now. And they're trying to get rid of the imperial, get rid of the 12. Don't focus on the 12 and the 36 inches, which is 360 degrees of a circle. Try to hide that. That's the God side. But the man side, the 10 system, the decimal, and the metric, let's focus on that. Let's use that to pay our bills. Let's use that to secularize the world. One's a secular system, one's a sacred system.
Yeah, that's simple. Capricorn and Aries, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned Dec, brother. I was thinking about this the other day. Well, Dec is December, which is where Capricorn is, right? And Capricorn is an earth sign, right? Well, when a lot of people here, when they're playing football, they say keep it on the deck, as in keep it on the floor. And I made that syncretism the other day, and it really made me laugh. And I think, wow, so that's what that means on the deck, December. It's relating to keeping it on the floor.
Beautiful. There you go.
But yeah,
there's always some great truth there.
Definitely. Wow, what was I going to go on to say? I forgot. Was it something to, it was something to do with football, right? It was, you see, like the football pitch. Obviously, I kind of see it like the halfway line being the equator, and the two penalty areas are kind of like, they could be seen as like the tropics or almost the Arctic circles, because they're like penalty areas. You're not allowed to go past them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, good one.
So they're the kind of things that I've been like thinking about and stuff like that. And it's so good to talk to someone who will get it. Do you get what I mean? Because a lot of people don't understand all these types of things. But yeah, I don't know if you saw, I syncretized the roulette wheel with the zodiac. Did I ever show you that?
No.
Let me share my screen and I'll show you what I've done and the numbers and how amazing it is, like when you like connect it all. So desktop share. Okay, let me go into. Oh, actually, it's in downloads. So, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. Right. So, can you see that, brother?
Oh yeah, I think I've seen this. Yeah, good on you. This is great.
Yeah. So, how I was inspired to do this was through watching. Do you know Marty Leeds?
Yep.
Yeah, he was talking about. This is where I got all info on the games, and I started looking into games and stuff. And all he mentioned was that the zodiac wheel is related to the roulette. That's all he said. So I took it upon myself to try and syncretize it all. So obviously we have the green part here, which we know is like the plane of inertia, the Earth. And then obviously Aries is the first sign, and from Aries it's redshift, Mars. So if you see number 1 starts with a red. And then obviously it goes odd, even, odd, even, odd, even. So the first number in the Aries section is 1, which Aries is number 1, and it's odd. So then if you move to Taurus, which is an even number. It's 24, which goes to 6, which is an even number. And then if you go through them all, you will see that it just syncretizes with so many different things. Like, for example, Aries is 1, Libra starts with 2. So they're the opposites. You look at, for example, Capricorn, redshift, 666, 18. Sagittarius, Jupiter rules the pineal gland. It starts with number 33. Just little things like that. And I was like, wow, is this a coincidence or is it just meant to be? And personally, I don't think it's a coincidence. It's just pure knowledge. And yeah, it's amazing. Like, I love finding out these little things. But I don't know if you see that yourself.
Yep, I'm looking at it right now. I'm seeing what you're doing. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Very
And also, it's interesting how once it comes to Libra, it switches to blue shift. It starts with a black one.
Yeah.
So it's talking about going into the darkness, obviously, where Saturn exalts and rules and things like that. It's just, it's such amazing stuff you can find. But it's just knowing the keys. And I have to thank you, brother, for giving us the keys. It's because of your syncretism and your work that I've been able to do this. And that's what I love about it, is like, I've kind of watched your work and tried to find my own stuff with it. And it's like, it's amazing the things you'll find out. Like, I don't know, I can't remember if there's any other ones in here, but yeah, you could say like Leo number 7, the 7 coronas around the sun, and there's loads of little different things, and like but that's pretty much the gist of it. You've got the gist of it, but
oh yeah, it's there. It's I can see a lot of stuff.
yeah,
You know, lots of things with numbers there. This is magical. And that green line, does that actually exist in the roulette wheel?
yeah, it was there. I didn't add that in. That green line was there. This is the American roulette one. I think the European one's a bit different. But that green line, I did not add that in. It was there. It was literally there. It's crazy.
Wow, wow, wow. There you go. That's
Yep.
the 36 deacons. They're the 36
Yeah,
deacons.
exactly. That's another thing. Yeah, the 36 deacons of the zodiac. Yep. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, like, what I want to go on to talk about with you now is like my findings of, like, in relation to the celebrations that within the Islamic community, and how each celebration is like connected to a particular sign within the zodiac, and what the celebration means is connected to it. And I found some amazing stuff, brother. And the reason and the thing that made me really search this stuff was in 2018. Is it 2018? Yeah, 2018. My dog passed away, and literally the day after was like, in Islam, there's a celebration called Eid al-Adha, where they sacrifice loads of lamb and goats to give to the poor, supposedly. And I don't know what it was, but something in my mind that day just told me to get my phone and look at where the moon is, because I know that Islam celebrations are based on where the moon is. And I looked at where the moon was, and the moon was in Capricorn. And I was like, wow. And then I thought, let me go and check like 5 years back and 5 years forward. And I went and checked every date that this celebration happens on, that the moon is in Capricorn. And I was like, oh my God, this is an amazing finding. Like, no one's ever spoke about this or talked about it. And it's crazy because it makes sense that they would do it in that time, because obviously the moon rules in Cancer, and it's fallen in Capricorn. So this would give people's emotions a more like kind of earthy, material kind of way of feeling. So they don't see that it's a bad thing, if that makes sense. They think, oh, we're just it's a good thing we're sacrificing to give food to people and stuff. But it's amazing. I read an article from some Muslim vegans, and they were saying about how really what it should be is about sacrificing your bad deeds and your bad sins to climb up like the mountain goat, and not literally doing it. And ever since I found that finding, it's just led me on to like so many different findings. And what I'm going to do for you is go through 4 of the celebrations, and I've gone on Astro Theme and I've screenshotted like the dates of where all the planets are, and I'm going to run through it with you if that's okay.
Yeah, great.
So let me share my screen. So share screen, desktop, share. Okay. Oh no, sugar, because I opened this picture. Oh, it's gone out of order. 1 second. I can open all the pictures. It doesn't matter. I'll just find them individually. 1 second. Because I opened that roulette picture, it got rid of my other presentation, but I can just find each slide separately and explain it to you anyway. It doesn't matter if it's not in order. So if I go to Control Open, or oh, brilliant! Oh, we saved it in the same order. Lovely. So I can do it. So let me go View, Enter Full Screen. Right, can you see that, brother?
Yep.
Right. So, like I mentioned before, the Islamic calendar is based on a lunar calendar. So, for an example, just say they celebrate something on the 30th, the next year round, because a moon cycle is 354 days, it will go back 10 days. So then it will be on the 20th of that month.
Yep.
So let me read it out. The Islamic calendar, also known as Hijri, the lunar Hijri, is a lunar calendar consisting of 12 lunar months in a 354 or 355 days. It is used to determine the proper days of the Islamic holidays and rituals, such as the annual period of fasting and proper pilgrimage to Mecca. The civil calendar of almost all countries where religion is predominantly Muslim is a Gregorian calendar with a Syriac month names used in the Levant and Mesopotamia, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Palestine. Notable exceptions are Iran and Afghanistan, which use a solar Hijri calendar. Rents and wages and similar regular commitments are generally paid by the civil calendar. So this is just like an introduction of what the lunar calendar is. There's a book that Jordan Maxwell, I was watching his one of his shows on he was talking about the book of Genesis, and he mentioned a book called Monotheism by a guy called Yoel Natan, I think is the author. And you know how we was talking about like Islam being based on the moon, and obviously each moon cycle is 29 days. Well, he explains that in the Quran that the moon is mentioned 29 times, coincidentally.
Mm-hmm.
So here he says, there are many mentions in the Quran of the sun, moon, and stars, and the meteors give the Quran a decidedly astral flavor. The moon is mentioned 29 times in the Quran, one mention for each day of the lunar month. So again, they have some coded stuff in there in relation to like astrology and the moon. So we can see that there's this moon theme within Islam. Moving on, these are just like the 12 days, the 12 different names of the months of all the Islamic months, basically. And the first one is called Muharram, which is what I'm going to go on to talk about now. Oh, these are just like dates of all different celebrations. Muharram is the first month of the Islamic calendar. The general meaning of this adjective, Muharram, means ban, forbidden, illegal, illicit, impermissible, prohibited, unlawful, unpermitted, and unauthorized. Well, so that basically, if that's the case, that talks about you being pure and being holy and being sacred. But if we go to check where the moon are on them dates, the moon on the first month of the Islamic lunar calendar starts in Virgo. Well, obviously Virgo is the Virgin, which is about being pure. So it makes sense of why the moon would be in Virgo on the first day of the Islamic New Year. And also, this corresponds with your work, brother, how, because obviously Virgo is in the part of the solar plexus where the Christ seed is planted. And obviously, we have to be good and not squander that to raise it back up. So this kind of ties in with that motif, if you can see that. So this is like the first day of the Islamic lunar year is called Muharram, and the moon is always in Virgo. So on last year it was on the 31st of August, but this year it's going to be on the 20th of August, and again you can see the moon is in Virgo again.
Wow.
So each celebration is connected to a particular sign, and what the celebration about also connects to that sign. So moving on from that, 10 days into the first lunar month, there's something called Ashura. Let me read it out to you. Ashura is the 10th day of Muharram, the first month of the Islamic lunar calendar. It marks the day that Hussein ibn Ali, the grandson of Islamic Prophet Muhammad, was martyred in the Battle of Karbala. Ashura is a major holiday occasion for pilgrimage in the Shia Islam, as well as a recommended but non-obligatory day of fasting for Sunni Islam. Ashura marks the climax and remembrance of Muharram, the annual commemoration of death of Hussein and his family supporters in the Battle of Karbala. Well, if we go to see where the moon is on this day, it's in Capricorn, which is the sign of death and where you resurrect. So again, the theme of that celebration corresponds with which sign the moon is in. So like, and it's amazing. I've gone through them all, Santos, and it's just, I'll just carry on anyway.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, go back to that. You'll notice that there's a mystic rectangle in there.
Okay.
Right. Now go back to the other chart. You see in this.
Oh, which one?
That one. There's another one. That's a mystic rectangle. Go back to the other one.
This one. Oh yeah. Wow. There's the same.
A mystic rectangle and a grand trine and a kite.
Wow.
This one doesn't have it, but it has a grand trine.
Yeah, the other two have the rectangle. Yeah, you're right.
Wow. You see the little envelope in the middle with the two crossing lines in the middle. That rectangle is a mystic rectangle. Then you go to the next one and you'll find another one.
Yeah.
There you go. A mystic rectangle and another kite with a grand trine.
Yeah. And another thing that I've noticed, brother, is the degrees between the sun and the moon when the new year happens is literally just as it starts becoming a crescent.
There you go.
And that's the sign of the Islam thing, like the Islam symbol is a crescent. So it's just, it's all there if you look, but people just obviously, I don't know, maybe they just don't know how to look. But I can see, like, it's just, since I've found this, it's just like, I feel like, it's weird. I just feel like I know what it's all about now. And it's just, I'm not saying I'm an expert on Islam because I'm not. I haven't read the whole Quran. I can probably find so much more stuff, but this is just me hardly like scraping the surface. So this one, you're going to love this one because it relates to Aries. Kandil is celebrated on the third month of the Islamic lunar calendar. Well, Kandil comes from the Latin word candela, which refers to 5 Islamic holy nights celebrated in Turkey and the Balkans, and it's related. Oh, 1 second. Let me just move this out of the way so I can read it. Right. Yeah, so it says it's related to the life of Prophet Muhammad, when the minarets are illuminated and special prayers are made on a tradition dated back to the Ottoman Sultan, who supports, with the support of Sheikh ul-Islam. It was thought appropriate to light up the minarets on mosques on these blessed occasion. Kandil derived from the Arabic meaning chandelier or candle. Are you still there, brother?
Yep.
So basically, kandil basically means candle, right? Which is a light. And this is when Muhammad flew to the seven heavens, basically. Well, if we look at where, if we look at where the moon is, yeah, this is what they do when this celebration happens. They light up the minarets, basically. So it's about illumination. Well, look at where the moon is every time that celebration is. Aries, the head.
Wow.
It goes to heaven to get illuminated. And it's called candle, which is a kandil, which is candle. And obviously we know the head is the lamb, which is the lamp, which is a light. So again, it's just there in your face, but people don't know. It's just, and again, I've not read one book to find all this out. I've just literally done all this myself. I've just got the dates and looked at the astrological charts, and it's just there to be seen, and it's amazing, like there again. But another interesting thing, Santos, is, you know, you've got two facts of Islam. You've got Sunni and Shia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Sunnis celebrate it on the 12th day of the third month, but the Shias celebrate it on the 17th day. So obviously the moon is in a different place, which is in Gemini. And I think this is also right because, again, this relates to Mercury the messenger, who is Muhammad the messenger. So again, they're both right, but I just think they've got slightly different ways of seeing it.
Yep.
If you know what I mean. So yeah, again, like this one is in Gemini every time. This is how the Shiites see. This is when the Shiites celebrate Muhammad's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, moving on, we come to the next one of the main celebrations, which is Ramadan. So I'll read out for the viewers and just for people who don't know what Ramadan is. So Ramadan is in the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar, observed by Muslims worldwide as a month of fasting, prayer, reflection, and community, a commemoration of Muhammad's first revelation. The annual observance of Ramadan is regarded as one of the 5 pillars of Islam, and lasts 29 to 30 days from one sighting of the crescent moon to the next. What I'll do, I won't read the rest of it. It just goes on to talk about like why they fast, and it's for purity and stuff like that. But again, if we look at the conjunction, well, a new moon is like a new start. So it makes sense that Ramadan starts on a new moon. The sun and moon are always conjunct when Ramadan starts.
Yeah.
So, and this is like you said, because the seed plants when the moon is in our sun sign.
Mm-hmm.
So this correlates with that. And also it's in the 9 month. 9 is the divine 9, the highest number. And also I'm thinking of like the etymology of Ramadan. Well, Ram is the head, the Ram Adam. So I guess it's kind of, you can say it's corresponding with mind over matter,
yep,
which is what fasting is about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that syncretism I made in relation to Ramadan, and it ends on when the moon and sun are conjunct as well. So it's exactly 1 month.
Wow.
Yeah, moving on, like there's a backstory behind that. It's like in that month, the Archangel Gabriel tells Muhammad that it's a month. The month when Ramadan starts is when the gates of heaven are opened, which we was talking about, the head, and the gates of hell are closed and the devils are chained. So that's your lower material self. And moving on, it says it is in the context of the hadith that this should be read, in that it reinforces the idea that the Quran strongly promotes human beings being responsible for their actions if they are careful and closer to God, and that they are, no, sorry, if they are careful, they are closer to God, and if they are careless, Satan overpowers them. This month gives every fasting believer the opportunity to prove himself and herself that they can take control of their own lives and assert independence from satanic circles. Well, again, it relates because number 9 is when the human is born on the 9th month. So again, it's like talking about a rebirth. It's like a restart. Moving on, it says it does not mean that the heaven remains closed for 11 months and the Islamic lunar calendar gates of hell are closed for only 1 month. It also does not mean, for obvious reasons, that devils are fettered only during this month, because of everything that is described as a sinful in the religious scriptures does not vanish for 1 month to return immediately after the conclusion of Ramadan. Well, in the story, Muhammad met Gabriel, who told him that he will close the gates of hell. Well, Gabriel, if we look, there's this site which is about archangels. Well, Gabriel is the moon. And if we look at here, the moon is the lowest sphere. So that would correspond with Gabriel and closing the gates of hell, because that would be the red chakra in our system. So yeah. Moving on. Yeah, this again, it just shows like this is just like an angelic signature. It's got like the Cancer sign, which connects with the moon and whatnot, and Gabriel. Moving on. Eid al-Fitr is just the last day of Ramadan, basically. And again, it just shows that the sun and moon are conjunct in that sign. Moving on, Santos. This relates more to do with Mecca and where it's aligned in relation to the earth. And it has to do with like the phi ratio, if you can see. See the line going through Mecca, the blue line.
Yep.
It's the phi ratio. So maybe this is why it has such a sacred kind of, it's a sacred place, because it lies on a phi ratio place of the earth. And I never used to understand the term Middle East, but by looking at this, I understand why they've coined the term Middle East, because the blue line is not quite in the middle, it's just east of the middle, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So that's just how like the location of Mecca kind of correlates with the phi ratio. The main and the last celebration in the Islamic lunar calendar is on the 12th month, where you have Hajj, where if you're a devout Muslim, you have to go to Mecca and walk around the Kaaba. And it spans over 5 or 6 days, but this correlates with, you know, when I was talking about the sacrifice celebration?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the first few parts of the day is the Hajj, and then after that, it's the sacrifice. Well, when this part starts, the moon's in Sagittarius, but then a few days later, when the sacrifice festival comes, that's when the moon is in Capricorn. So yeah, this is just the Kaaba and people walking around it. And also, another thing I found interesting, it says that the Tawaf is one of the Islamic rituals of pilgrimage in Mecca. During the Hajj and the Umrah, Muslims go around the Kaaba 7 times in a counterclockwise direction. The first 3 circuits are in a hurried pace and the outer part of the crowd, followed by 4 times closer to the Kabbalah at a leisurely pace. So what that says to me is the 7 planets, the first 3 would be the Moon, Mercury and Venus going fast, and the slower ones would be the Sun, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn.
Yep.
So that's just the syncretism of the planets in relation to how
I
people.
saw it the other way around. I saw it as the fast ones, the planets that are doing a long track around the outside, and the slow ones, the ones that are going around the sun. They're fast, yes, but they're going slow.
Okay, yeah. So, yep, I get you. So it's just the inverse of what I said, basically. Yeah, it makes sense. So, like, the four-petal chakra would be the moon one because it's less. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So, yeah, moving on from that. What is this? Yeah, this just says the same thing, basically. And this is Eid el-Adha, which I already explained to you about the moon being in Capricorn, and which is like where they do the sacrificing and stuff. And yeah, I've just got some chart where you can see the moon in Capricorn there, and then the following year the moon's in Capricorn again. And yeah, and that's it really, Santos. It's a bit quick and brief, but I didn't want to go too much into detail. But it's just I wanted this to present this to people, and this ain't me having a dig at Islam saying, oh, it's a bad religion. I just want to show them that they're very quick and easy to say, oh, astrology's from the devil and this and that, but their whole religion, well, as you've mentioned, all religions are based on astrotheology, so you can't really get away from it. But I just want to show people that they should take more notice of these kind of things and not be so quick to just like, oh, it's from the devil and it's this and that, where it's so predominant within the religion. I want to show them how and why it's used, because it's good doing a practice, but if you're doing it and not understanding why the practice is happening, then it's no good. I like to know the root of why something is done. And that's basically my little presentation for you.
Oh, wow, brother. I'm very impressed because I get a lot of people lately asking me, what about syncretisms in Islam? Santos, you should do it. Well, you've done it. And I'm going to use this information I'm going to title it when I put on my channel, Astrotheology in the Quran, in Islam and the Quran.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm going to title it as well,
yeah. Let's do that because people need this. Is amazing. You've done a really good job here. I've done a bit too on Islam, not so much, but there's plenty of stuff I could mention. I mean, Muhammad.
I've a lot of it come from you anyway. Like I remember you mentioning about how like Muhammad came 600 years after Jesus in Pisces, which is where Venus exalts, which is Isis, which is Islam. I've seen your stuff in the past that you've done about, but yeah, so it's like I kind of thought like Santos does a lot of stuff on Christianity and other religions, and I thought, because I've grown up in a Muslim background, I thought it was like my duty to kind of find out how that system works. And it's the same, but they're just using the moon instead of the sun, basically.
Gotcha. It's true. Yeah, there's two different systems.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically one picture. Again, I've just got a picture here to show you. This is a really interesting picture. You know how like you say how like black light and white light creates the electromagnetic spectrum? Well, all I did, my TV was broken and I happened to put my torch on and I shined the white light on my black screen and this came out and I was like, wow. And it just corresponds with all the stuff you talk about with redshift and blueshift, and you can see the plane of inertia going across. And it was just like, it's such a simple experiment, like where if you say to someone, oh, white and black light creates the electromagnetic spectrum, and they say, oh, well, prove it to me. All you have to do is just shine your light on a TV and you can show someone. And,
wow.
And that was just something that I just like kind of did by fluke. I just thought I would.
Well, can you go back to that?
Yep.
So when I do solar gazing, I always see the white sun in the middle.
Yep.
And then the Celtic cross. Then after a while, you squint your eyes a little bit, you change the shape of the lens of your eye, and then you will see the cross quarter days where those
Where the red and blue shift is, yeah.
Exactly. And then so you see an 8-spoke wheel. From there, you can make it focus on the 16 lines. And then from there, you can actually see 32.
Yep. And then 64, isn't it?
That's right.
The chessboard. Yeah.
So it goes back to that 64 chessboard, DNA codons, and I Ching number, because it all goes rooted in the 8 or the 4. 4 is the foundation for that a numerical system. So this is the cross of Christ.
Yep.
That's Kirot. You'll see the letter K there. That's Ki.
Yep. Definitely. It's also funny, you say K. Well, in Turkish, red to break is kır. Kır, and the number, and if I'm not mistaken, did you say red in Japanese is mizu?
No, that's water.
Oh, no, sorry, I got it mixed up. My bad. Yeah, because in Turkish, kırmızı is red. So, but yeah. But also this, what I wanted to show you, Santos, was the same kind of concept, how, you know, the whirling dervishes, you have like the dielectric counter space, the guy leading it in the middle, and then the guys dancing round, the magnetism, the radiation wave. And you can see that symbolized in the whirling dervishes.
Yes, the Taurus field.
Yep. So that's just another thing I thought I'd add into the yeah, this is just like what we was talking about earlier about how Muhammad flying on Pegasus and the white horse and whatnot. They're just pictures, and yeah, the Norton Geb, I don't know why that's in there, but that was just me. I explained that to you already about Geb being the cube and being the Earth and whatnot. But yeah, I think that's it, brother. That's all I've got. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for listening. I really appreciate it, and thank you for helping me, kind of giving us the tools so we can uncover these things.
For sure.
Before we leave, just let the people know like what you've been up to recently. It's good to see you back out on the road doing tours and stuff. Because when I first got into your work, you was like doing all the whiteboard presentations and stuff, and it kind of, now I've seen you do it again, it brings me back to that time, and it was a good time. So, and I think it's even better now because you've got like the different cosmology and the Taurus field stuff to it. And I know you've been in America, and I watched your show with Killer Priest and Eddie Bravo. Like, you've been meeting some good people, and like, how's that been?
Oh, it's been wonderful. When you put yourself out to do your work on a different level, the universe conspires to help you. So I knew that would happen. And I knew when I first started making videos that the universe will just love it, love this great knowledge. And it did. And people came to it and flocked to it, like yourself, very intelligent, have advanced in great leaps and bounds in the science of syncretism and made it their own. And so it gives me great pleasure to see that. So now I'm taking syncretism to the new level. Yeah. I said that before I left the Australian shores. I said, I'm going to America for 2 reasons. And one of them was for syncretism. And I said, I will make it, take it to the next level. And the universe came along and provided. And so I've only just begun. It's going to, there's a lot of people that are coming on board now with syncretism. We're going to start taking it to whole new levels, websites, documentaries. Yeah. Syncretism is going to take over. It's going to be the true doctrine, and everybody will just know it as, they'll just accept it as self-evident. There won't be any arguments. There can't be. There's only syncretism, there's only atomology, and it's the only system and no one will be able to resist it, as is what is happening now. No one is resisting it. There's no one debunking it. There's people attacking it, but they cannot debunk it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's a pure system. It's a perfect system.
Just to let you know, Brother Santos, is that I know you're a Leo ascendant, and so am I actually. Could I ask you a quick favour? Would you mind looking at my chart for 5 minutes? Just a quick. If I get it up, would you mind just doing a quick overview?
Oh yeah, you do it.
Yep, no problem. Okay, so let me share my screen. And I go to desktop, and I'll just go to. Okay. Okay. London. Next. Right, can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what are you looking at? Leo rising, 0 degrees, beautiful Taurus moon, Scorpio sun opposite. So you were born just before the full moon, which is good because your moon is waxing. You have a Uranus-Neptune conjunction, which is great for your truth-telling, truth exposing, I guess, revealing, speaking forth the truth. You've got a beautiful Venus in Libra in its domicile, right of the sun, so very virtuous. Mars there on the 0 degrees Libra, that's a bit of a...
Yep, no good.
Not really there, not for the house of brothers and sisters and communication and stuff like that. Great for intelligence and brightness.
Yep.
But when it comes to justice and judgments and everything, you just need to be careful not to be too rash, too overexerting, too zealous when it comes to judgments and decisions. Just settle that hot burning Mars down.
Yep.
Be nice to see the transits, but there's no transits here on this chart.
Okay.
Nonetheless, yeah, great spiritual practice. The 5th house is packed. We've got 5 planets in the 5th house, which is the house of spiritual practice. It's where you put to practice your spirituality from theory to practice.
Yep.
And
also Sagittarius being the house of philosophy and higher wisdom as well, kind of must influence that.
That's right. So this is an individual who actually does the stuff. They actually do yoga, meditate, make retreats and practice ritualistically their religion or their way or their philosophy. They don't theorize and speculate and conceptualize. They're actually doers. They've got a lot of practice. So I see a lot of emotional security in your chart. It's a basket. The handle is the moon.
Yep.
Not too great for, financial stability with the moon over there all by itself, but nonetheless, you do have a good materialistic foundation. Your 4th house is pretty packed and stable. So, materially, you're well looked after as well.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been,
Nice.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Sure.
I just thought it just as you're here, it would just be good to get a quick opinion from you as well.
Nice.
Well, I want to say, brother, thank you very, very much for taking your time to talk to me. I've really enjoyed this show, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And hopefully we can connect again. I could talk to you all day about stuff, but obviously we've got other stuff to do and things like that. So one day I would love to do a show on medical astrology.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yep.
like talk
Next
about
one.
how like the chart and particular stuff in your chart and bad aspects and what herbs you can use and stuff like that, because I am really into that side of stuff at the moment, because obviously like I've had Virgo is my sixth, not Virgo, Capricorn is in my sixth house, and I've had like Pluto and obviously Pluto and
Saturn.
Saturn have been in there, and they're both like, well, Pluto's about transformation and Saturn's about discipline, and I've really been kind of focusing on that area in the last couple of years, so that's something I'm quite interested in at the moment. So hopefully one day we can connect and do a show about that. But like once again, I really appreciate your time. I've really enjoyed this show. And just before we go, let the people know where they can find your stuff and if you've got any shows or anything coming up at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I've got a few more uploads to come up, some presentations I've been doing in Americas, both in Spanish and in English. So stay tuned for that. And my YouTube channel is Mr. Astrotheology. My website is universaltruthschool.com.
Thank you, brother. Once again, I really appreciate your time and we'll catch up soon. Peace.